Welcome to Gapology Radio Podcast with authors Mark Tienes and Brian Brockhoff. We can be reached at gapology.org, and our books can be found at amazon.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gapology Radio. Before we get rolling today, I just want to give another shout out to Courtney, who was our guest last week. We had an awesome conversation, learned a lot from her, and we look forward to having her on the show again and getting caught up on her progress with her team. So let's get this one rolling. Let's give Mark a call and see what he's up to.
Hey Brian, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Mark?
I'm good.
Good. Happy Sunday. We're recording on a Sunday this week.
Same to you. Rainy Sunday here in California.
Yeah, here. I think we're supposed to get like 15 inches over the next 10 days or something they said here. It's supposed to be torrential.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy. We spent all day out in the yard just making sure the water flow, because we have a big hill in our backyard, so we want to make sure all the water flows properly and that kind of thing.
We'll build an ark.
Yeah.
That much rain coming.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and I was going to sit on the couch and drink a beer, but, I'd rather do this, priorities, right?
Well, it's our civic duty.
It is.
To help people out there.
I know people are clamoring for these things.
And this week's topic is unusually important.
Yeah? What do you want to talk about?
Prioritization.
Okay, great. That will help me for sure.
Yeah, you're the primary audience there.
Oh, okay. Good. I need the help.
We ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So there's so many teams out there that really struggle with priorities. And so many companies today, so many organizations are struggling with priorities. And the biggest challenge is almost everybody has too many priorities. And too many priorities is creating huge confusion within teams. And that's what I'd like to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it gets even more confusing when you have multiple people that you report to. If you have a director and a VP and all these different levels, and if you have contact with them, a lot of times all those priorities get kind of jumbled, I think.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of multi-reporting structures today that are out there.
Yep.
But in general, we just have so much on our plate that it is difficult to know what matters. There was a smart person, and I didn't look up who said it first, but they said if everything is important, nothing is important. And that really summarizes the challenge today. People get confused about what really matters. And this goes back in many ways to Gapology and the importance gap. It ties directly to that. It's one of the chapters in Gapology. Prioritization it's one of the root solutions to closing the importance gap. But it is a big deal. And the reason it is a big deal is prioritization is how people make decisions. Throughout the day, you decide and make decisions based on the priorities. And when you lose track of those priorities, when you lose sight and clear focus on what matters, it makes decision-making difficult, and people begin making bad decisions. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, under the importance gap, we have the root solution, setting expectations, communication, and prioritization. And all of those first two pieces, the setting expectations and the communication piece, drives priorities. So if those first two things aren't done correctly, priorities get, mixed up.
Yeah. So clear priorities create action, and they create action on the right things. Yep. And I believe that leaders are confused about this. They believe that their teams know what the priorities are. They believe that their teams know what matters, and therefore they make the right decisions throughout the day. And it's just not true. So we love to do this exercise. So if you're taking notes, write this down. It's similar to an exercise we've done on a number of topics, but it's called the index card exercise. And as a leader, the next time you gather your team together, or the next time you're with your team, hand each of them an index card and ask them to write down the top 3 priorities that they have for the business, for the organization. And then at the same time, you write down the top 3 priorities that they should have written on the card. And if they have different roles, you might have to write out a different index card for each of the team members. And then you simply compare them. So we did this the other day in a meeting, and it was shocking. So the leader thought they would be 100%, and they came in at around 25% match.
Ooh, wow.
So the priorities aren't clear. Have you tried that, Brian?
Oh, yeah, definitely have done that a few times.
And I think most leaders, including myself, would fail at this exercise unless they're specifically focused at it.
Mm-hmm.
So as a leader, you have to come back all the time to the priorities, and you've got to keep them narrow. 3 to 5 priorities is magical. Keep it narrow. Often we give a dozen priorities, and when we give a dozen priorities, we lose track. The team loses track, and things are not clear. So here's the key for the leaders out there, and again, if you're taking notes, write this down. So you need to tie priorities specifically to the result expectations you have of the team. That's the first way to look at it. So if you have a very narrow set of results that the team needs to achieve, tie the expectations directly to that, and the priorities will come from that. The other key is to tie them to the purpose. So if your team has a purpose, and we're recommending that your team has a purpose, we have just completed a book we're very excited about called Speed of Purpose. It's not out yet, but it will be soon. And if you tie the priorities of an individual to the purpose of the organization and to their role within that purpose, it really creates an ironclad set of priorities. And that makes them clear. So expectations and purpose are what clarify the priorities. Thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I think priorities are tied to not just what's said, but what is felt. So when a leader says something is important, but then they never follow up with it, there's never any coaching around it, encouragement around it, support around it, I don't think people feel as connected to those priorities. So, if you set a priority that, customer service is the most important thing, but you never talk about customer service, you never inspect it, you never follow up with it, that is never going to be the top priority for the people.
That's a great point. Brian. Let me tie to that. So the leader's behavior is also key here. So the leader's behavior must match the priorities that are given.
Yeah.
If the leader just talks about priorities and then doesn't live them, to your point, they go away. They don't matter.
Yep.
So the behavior of the leaders, the leadership team, must match the priorities of the organization. So customer service is a great example. I know of an organization that is going out over the next couple of weeks, and to exemplify their priorities and their purpose of helping people live their lives, they're going to transform the home of a resident within their organization. They're going to repaint, re-landscape, and change the life of an individual in order to exemplify the purpose of helping people live their lives.
Awesome.
And that ties directly to the priorities that they set every day, and it brings it full circle, and the leadership are the ones that are going to do the transforming. They're the ones that will have the paintbrushes in hand and the rakes and shovels and be doing a lot of the work. So the leader's behavior must match the priorities.
Yeah, that's great. Wow.
So let me close with this. Clear priorities. What happens when you as a leader have clear priorities for your team? They create a shared vision. So the team has a shared vision. Everyone is clear on what matters and what matters most. And that's what creates culture. So unfortunately, again, back to the start, if the team is confused about the priorities, you are destroying the culture of the organization. But if the team is clear about the priorities, you are creating a culture. And that culture, of course, builds and creates strong execution. So keep the priorities narrow, but keep them big. And the team will be clear on how to make decisions, and that will build a culture within the organization. And execution and performance will be higher.
Awesome.
So any follow-up thoughts, Brian? That's all I've got.
No, I think that's a perfect way to end it. I think tying everything to purpose and to drive your culture, I think is fantastic. So thanks, Mark.
All right, Brian. Have a great week. Thanks.
Yep. You too. Yep. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. I think that'll do it from here. Head on over to our website, gapology.org, for more information. Everybody have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been a Gapology production. Visit us at gapology.org.